just take a quick look at some of these, the stage and the bot API. So the way things flow is that the first thing that happens is the stage's configure method is called. He's passed a stage builder. He can set size, set battle mode. He can add walls. He can add zones. He can decide where the starting points are, and then all the ships are initialized with a copy of that world data, and then the stage itself is initialized with copies of all the ships and the world data and this admin object that you can use to do things like move ships around, kill ships, set a winner, and decide when the match is over. So this stage just waits until there's 0 or 1 bots left, and then checks who has the best score. Something like the race stage is a little more interesting, but still very few lines of code. So on this stage, it sets a size. He adds a bunch of starting points in like a grid, like you would have on a racetrack. There's a few walls and the 3 zones that are tagged. And then he creates this ship laps table that's indexed by name. For each ship, he keeps track of laps on the last zone that they touched, so he can track their progress through the stage. And then he just watches when they go from zone 1 to zone 2 and zone 2 to zone 3, and then that counts as a lap, and then shows who has the maximum laps. And you could set a max for when the match is over, but I didn't for this. And so then the bot API is also pretty simple. You have the init function. You get a reference to the ship that you use to move around and get the basic info about where your ship is and speed. You get this world object, which has like battlefield width and height and where all the walls are and where the zones are. And then each tick, this run function is called. You get a collection of enemy ships with like X and Y position and energy and speed and heading of each ship. And then you get this sensors object, which is where you get all the other events that might happen. Like you can get your hit by ship see if you got hit by any other ships in the last tick, or if you hit a wall, or if you got hit by any lasers. And yeah, so this guy just moves around randomly, picks a random target. The only things you can actually do right now are fire laser, or thruster is just you thrust in a certain direction and with a certain amount of force, and that affects your overall speed and momentum and path. So some things I'd like to do to extend the stage capabilities are I want the stages to be able to fire off their own custom events. So in addition to getting all those built-in events from the sensors, you could get custom events that would come from the stage, and so each custom event would have its own format, and so you kind of have to program to an API defined by the stage in that case. But I think you'll be programming a bot for a specific type of gameplay anyway, so I think that makes sense. I also want to make it so that a stage could define a bunch of bots that are loaded as part of playing that stage. So then you could do things like kind of like an old school arcade game like Galaga or something, where there's a bunch of enemies that are loaded as part of playing that stage. So you just load this stage and your bot, and you're facing all these enemies that act however that works for the gameplay on that stage. So I think that would be pretty cool, and would offer a lot of gameplay options in coordination with the custom events thing, because then the stage can load these custom bots, and it can have these custom events to kind of communicate what's going on in the game to you if it needs to. So that's what I have for now. I don't want to go in too much depth about these lasers and all that, how all this stuff is working, but I'm certainly willing to discuss that and maybe go into that in more depth once I have it more polished. Okay, that's it for now. Thanks.